Welcome back to Ready, Set, Geek. JR was able to take the first point from the pitch-off, which of course brings us to creative control.
That's my bad.
Debating about geek culture. It's like reading Playboy for the articles, because it's awesome. So here to help me keeping the pages from getting a little too sticky is the pajama-wearing, bunny-loving, man of the minute, the master of the well, actually, Mr. Bill Romango.
I had thunderous applause for asking you, Chris.
I broke from last week. I can't keep paying people to applaud you.
Yeah, really.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
I gave you a timely Hugh Hefner-esque, I dropped my pen, reference.
Hugh Hefner dropped his pen.
Oh, that's one way to look at it. Hey, you gotta do your job here.
I have the scoreboard. I was going to wait for you to talk about it, but whatever.
No, I was waiting
You act
for you
like
to
this is your show or something.
Hey, it's just as much his show as it is mine. All right, you ready for this?
Yep.
All right. JR, you're going to be able to pick between 3 topics that we are all going to be debating about. What I want to hear is the best argument. It's not going to be the best answer. It's going to be the best argument. So we're going to break this down. We're going to hear everybody's answer, and then JR, you will have 60 seconds to give your opening argument. Then you guys will follow. 90 seconds to create a strong rebuttal. Start putting your argument above everybody else's. Tear them down, break them down. Get a glass bottle, smash it over somebody's head. We encourage violence. It gets more views.
Well, actually, we don't. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Finally, we will have a 30-second closer. Bill will be keeping track of everybody, and if you happen to step out of line or go over your time, or he just is feeling a little squirrely, he'll hit you with the...
Well, actually...
It's why I'm running out of excuses of things why that's so terrible.
It's amazing.
It's gonna be the only thing that's gonna be franchisable about this entire show as well.
That's correct.
I now have people coming up to me in the street and going, "Oh, well, actually," and then I pay them because it makes me feel like a better person. All right, let's hear what our topics are going to be. JR, topic number 1: better on the outside. Number 2. And to mo-cap it off, and number 3, wait for it. That's actually the topic.
Wait for it. See what I did there?
Yeah, you cut me off and
prolonged
a joke that was already funny when I did it. Anyway, JR.
Yes.
What are we going to be debating today?
I do mocap.
Mocap. The topic for everyone will be, what is the best performance in a film using motion capture? I'm excited. You excited?
I am.
Okay. JR, what's your pick?
Final Fantasy.
Woo! Ooh. Woo! Anthony's got the vapors.
Got the vapors.
He's got the vapors.
Oh my god.
Vapors.
Oh my god.
All right, Anthony, what's your choice?
I'll do Gollum from the Two Towers.
Excellent choice.
Andy Serkis is Gollum from the Two
Yeah,
Towers.
I assume.
Sorry.
Jelena?
I'll do Bill Nye, not the science guy, but as Davy Jones from At World's End in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh, okay. That's different choices. I kind of really thought we were going to go, well, I like Andy Serkis in this one, and then Andy Serkis in this one. And you know who was really good in that one movie with the...
Well, was it Andy Serkis?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's like we're on the same day. It's fantastic.
The connection's
All right,
unbelievable.
we got a time.
Yep.
You ready?
Ready.
JR, you ready?
Sort of.
That's the best way to get on this show.
We're going to be waxing
But thanks for
philosophic about
watching.
this. All right, JR, let's hear
choice.
it. 60 seconds, go.
Pioneering. When I was a wee young lad, you go and see this film, you never saw it before, and the films that they mentioned came afterwards. So you got to start somewhere. So I figured that that's the starting point of awesomeness. Yeah, they fit. You figure the first time that someone filmed a movie and then overlaid an animation on top of it, and it was gorgeous. I was thinking there was a lot of drawing they did, but it wasn't. It was just filming and then overlaying. Anyways, I don't know if that's a strong enough argument that your guys suck, but if you're talking if you're talking legacy, you got to start somewhere.
You have a few more seconds if you'd like to add anything else.
Vividly remember seeing that movie.
No, I'm good.
Strong argument.
Yields.
The time
Right.
is
I
yielded.
vividly remember that movie, seeing it, like the entire experience, going to see it, being disappointed inside, not of the mocap, but of it not being
Well, actually,
about...
Anthony, we're not there yet. You can downplay his argument after.
Oh no, his argument's great. I'm just talking about the rest of the movie.
I just
like
really
the
That
wanted,
was
plot.
Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, correct?
Yes.
Spirits Within,
Spirits
that's-
Within.
okay, I didn't-
I just really wanted to well.
Good song too.
Yeah.
They killed my favorite character by bringing a ghost to the
Hey,
floor.
spoilers!
If you haven't seen it,
How about that?
That was good.
We're like the Bash
If you
Brothers.
haven't seen it,
right.
Connection is.
I know. It's fierce. We
Yeah.
both thought of Andy Serkis with mocap.
Yeah, exactly.
You holding my leg? All right.
Not that leg. Go ahead, Anthony. 60
all right.
seconds.
So I picked specifically the Two Towers because that's. Oh, sorry, we're from Pittsburgh. I picked the Two Towers because I thought that he did a fantastic job in that movie. Of first of all, you finally get introduced to this character for more than just a background or a flashback or talking about the character and seeing it in like a flash whatever. Really, what you get to see is him interacting as Gollum with the hobbits the most. You see him having the arguments with himself in the pool. And some of this has to do with the cinematography, but at the same time, he's switching between Schmeagol and Gollum effortlessly in single shots. You see, and I mean, already on top of how wonderful the mocap itself is in bringing this character to life, and how Andy Serkis is crawling around in a white onesie, like on his like hands and knees on the ground, while everyone else gets to. Sorry.
That was
was a
actually
weird noise
that
in
was
the
your
studio.
time buzzer.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Outside interference.
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, Jelena. 60 seconds on the clock.
All right, I went with Bill Nye from Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End because of the micro expressions you see. Not only did the animators really work with that well, every tiny twitch of his eye has a corresponding tentacle wiggle. He did the acting on set, along with the rest of his crew, and I think that really brought like a level of depth to the character. And I know we can talk about pioneers, and I know Andy Serkis is the mocap actor, but I think that like the amount of fear you have for Davy Jones, the presence he takes up on stage, really was
There was another weird sound in the studio.
was really unexpected. And again, it's like like when he leans in to intimidate Jack Sparrow and he narrows his eyes and he wrinkles his lips, you get this whole cascade of tentacles that just really sold it for me. And
Almost exactly 60 seconds, even with the weird noises in the background.
All right, JR, I want to go back to Final Fantasy, the Spirits Within, because I assume most of the people that watch this at least know of that film if they haven't seen it. It was really revolutionary. But how do you put it up against defining moments of motion capture? What really was the singularity of that movie that elevated it above pretty much everything else? So I'm going to give you 90 seconds to talk about that and also start distinguishing yourself from these other films.
Do you want to give instructions to anybody else?
I'll do it as I go.
Oh. It's like it's your show or something.
Push the
JR.
button. Push the button.
Buttons
Yeah.
pressed. Nuances. You figure if you're doing something for the first time, the nuance of shifting of weight. So when a character stops, even when human beings stop, we shift our balance. And that was something that I noticed as a youngster watching this film. When I have terrible names, when the woman goes up to the precipice of something and she
You can
stops.
call her lady if you like.
Okay. When the woman goes up to and then she stops and shifts her weight. And I figured, if you were drawing that, how many extra pieces of paper was that to draw? But as far as motion capture goes, I didn't quite look at the faces and micro expressions, but it's just the body. When you notice something doesn't look right, then you're like, well, that's fake. And I think that's when you get to that point where like everything looks so good, then you start looking at smaller nuances. And that's where I am with Final Fantasy. There was just, the nuances were dead on as far as the motion of the human body goes.
How is it superior to the other two films?
To what?
To the other two films that they're talking about?
Aside for I know that the Pirates of the Caribbean, that character with again, that's another nuance. I was thinking of iRobot when she was saying that. Here you have a white plastic face, and you're seeing micro expressions on this small face. Again, going with like the legacy of something, it started somewhere, and I'm going to slide iRobot in there in between those two to also shut down the two movies as well.
That's good. Plus, we get like $20 every time somebody brings up iRobot from Converse. They're still getting product placements from Converse.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know.
Wait, what?
That
Really?
whole movie was like a Converse product placement.
Yeah.
It was I was
Yeah,
just
all the
making a
robots were
bad
wearing
joke.
them. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm
We're
just,
making a bad joke?
I know.
First time ever.
I know.
It's pretty bad.
Anthony, it's your turn.
Okay, so everyone remembers how revolutionary animated film was. Maybe don't remember it, but you can say the first animated film was revolutionary. Fine. But after that, Roger Rabbit, animation on real life actors. I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the first that I can remember. I see Andy Serkis in the Two Tires as that. I mean, he's playing a character. He is not the size of Gollum. Gollum is not a mildly, average build human being in this movie that Andy Serkis, they're just overlaying. He is a small creature that is frail and completely dilapidated and emaciated, I'm sorry, is the word I was looking for. And Andy Serkis is mocapping for that and then overlaying that character onto Andy Serkis and then onto the movie itself, which has, of course, CG in it. I mean, they cut everybody's height to be hobbits, and that's what he acts with most of the time. But that I think was revolutionary in that effect, because even if it's been done before, it was never done that well. You know, I didn't even know it was Andy Serkis mocapping that when I went to see it. I thought it was just CGI because of how well it was done and how accurate and on point everything, including the expressions on the face and when he changes character and whatnot. So
You have like 10 seconds if you want to.
I just really hated the climax where the guy is like, just do this and then someone wins.
All right, we
This
need
is
to stop
really
making
disappointing.
sexual references on this show. I know. I did a whole intro based on Playboy, but Gaia doing this is...
Gaias. There was like
oh.
two of them.
Oh, well, never mind. I need to watch that film again.
In that case, it's
One was
recording.
orange,
Yeah.
one was blue.
I get down with the orange and the blues.
Yeah.
All right.
uncomfortable
More of
now.
an orange guy.
Jelena, there's a lot of CGI and a lot of mocap in these Pirates movies. And Bill Nye's a brilliant performer, but what was it about him specifically and the way that he carried himself that really distinguished itself in that, what are we at, 17 Pirates movies?
Yeah.
Something.
I think that was that the third one?
That was the
That's
third
the
one.
That's the third
Yeah.
one. With Chow
Pretty
Yun
much
Fat.
the only good thing about the third one.
Okay. I want to hear you talk about the distinguishing factors of Bill Nye.
I think that while all of the other mocap actors in the movie are fine and good, and they like portray what they're supposed to, Bill Nye sets himself aside as Davy Jones by his lumbering walk. He's got this stock that he has. In addition to his walk, he carries himself with this intimidating demeanor that just kind of like, it's not a stage, but fills the shot. In addition to his walk, it's his voice. He's like inserting all these wonderful little clicks, and he manages to sound raspy, and it just fills up this idea of this crazy octopus-faced villain so well. It sounds like wet and terrifying. And then like a specific scene that I think portrays his movement, his physicality during it, is when you see, I think it was Captain Jack spying on him as he's at the organ playing, and he's like in this crazy emotional moment, and his back's to the camera, and he's like essentially like wailing the keys out in his emotionality, and it just, I don't know, it made the character, I think somehow the octopus character felt relatable, felt like a real person, in the same time being terrifying and I don't know, epitomized. And that's, I'm going to yield whatever I've got left.
It was 8 seconds, but I appreciate
You don't want to talk
yielding.
about how sad the ending of Final Fantasy Spirits Within was?
I'm going to admit that
still
I
Do you
haven't
understand?
seen Spirits
That's like the
Within.
only RPG I played as a kid, and I go to see this movie, and my hype was, can you ever be that hyped when you're like 12 years old going to see that movie.
You were 12. Oh God.
Or 14. I don't. When did it come out? 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
2000. Yeah, 2001.
15. I was 15.
All right.
So
I want to
maybe
hear.
I was a little bit
I want to hear
immature.
some closing arguments, and I want to hear specifically about really setting yourself apart. I'm hearing a lot about these, fantastic performances and a lot about the physicality of mocap. But I want to nail that performance, and I really want to hear you set apart your performance from anything else. Okay, because we're going with best. Keep that in your mind. It is a best. 30 seconds.
Ready. And begin.
You previously, actors would play against a tennis ball on a stick, and so with motion capture, you get to interact with a person in a suit with balls on it. With Final Fantasy, it is the entire film. So that's why I feel it kind of sets itself apart. Is the entire film is the animation, is the motion capture, is developed in that world. It took hundreds of people, lots of years. That's what happened. You have a real actor acting against another real person.
It's time.
All right, Anthony.
So I think what sets Andy Serkis and the Two Tires apart is that he's really playing multiple characters, and you don't see that in all of these other films. I mean, you see each of those characters is playing a character, and there's multiple of them. And the lumbering, I concede, Bill Nye does a fantastic job, but he still can come to work, know what character he's playing that day. Andy Serkis in this movie is switching between personalities. He's hitting the micro expressions of sadness and fear, and immediately switching in the same shot to the micro expressions of trying to convince his other side to betray them.
That's time.
That's it.
All right, Jelena.
I think while everybody else here has talked about how things seemed like CGI, I think when you watch Davy Jones, if you feel that he's a man in that, you feel Bill Nye's humanity in that role, which is something that I think really sets it apart. And additionally, talking about Final Fantasy, how they're all in the studio. They filmed most of the mocap on set for Pirates, so we still had that interaction. We still had every actor responding to the mocap, and thus the fuller expression and the fuller acting experience.
Perfect.
All right, Bill.
All really good arguments.
Yeah, let's cap it off now. That's actually the title of the topic.
Because it's about Bill. It's about
Full circle.
mocap.
Bring it back.
about mocap.
That's
Do you
short
have
for motion
do you have a
capture.
particular performance that stands out to you, mocap?
Again, it's Andy Serkis, but the new Planet of the Apes movies are astoundingly good, and he makes it that way. With that said, so the argument against motion capture in terms of multiple times Andy Serkis has been, people have lobbied to try to get him an Oscar nomination for acting. And so it becomes, when we're talking, we had a lot of talk about micro expressions. Are those micro expressions simply recorded and then a CGI face is mapped? Or are there certain things that are added and taken away? And in the day and age in which we live, you're starting to see that with actual actors de-aging or accelerated aging and CGI and things being added and taken away. And so the fact that everyone's argument centered around the physicality, as you mentioned, the body weight of a person is something that's very hard to replicate in animation. And you both talked about your particular actors with their physicality. And so I think that's a large part that plays hugely to what we're talking about here. And it's not necessarily about the facial features, and it's more about the physical aspect of the actors that are on set, whether it's Serkis or Nighy or the entire cast of the Final Fantasy movie. When it all comes down to it, when you think about motion capture, it's such a thing that's used a lot nowadays. The Final Fantasy argument hadn't even occurred to me, and the fact that it was the first, it was the standard bar. When you look back on it now, does it look as good as it did when it came out? Not necessarily, but just because technology has advanced.
Man,
But with that said, I think the best argument was for the Final Fantasy because of the fact that it was the first. It was the first time you had live actors interacting with each other in what is now the standard in video game cutscenes, and you haven't really seen it again used because the micro expressions are something that's hard to replicate, and so how much of that is used to help the actor versus the actual actor doing it. So I think the Final
I
Fantasy.
I have to admit, I really loved that answer, and for that to be, as you said, like the standard bearer of, and the legacy that followed from that is a really strong point.
Right.
The question, though, nuance. The
Hostiles.
question is, what's the best performance? And I heard a lot in Final Fantasy about the movement of weight and the way that it looked and how unique it was that this was the first. And I think that's something that it needs to be remembered for. To be fair, it's the only thing that movie needs to be remembered.
God, it's so sad. I wanted it to be good.
Because it is not a good movie.
I wanted it to be so good.
But regardless of whether it was a good movie or not, I really liked your argument for it. Where you lose me is in the subtext of the actual question, or actually the plain text of the question is performance. And I think the technological aspect of Final Fantasy sets it apart. And that's great. And if it was most innovative film, I think you could run away with that. But best performance, we really honed in on two actors who are doing defining work within this medium. And I love both of these. And I think it's easy to go with Andy Serkis. And it's easy to overlook anything in that god-awful Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And if they had just had a 2.5 hour film of Davy Jones, I think that would have been fantastic. But they decidedly didn't. They went with 17 Johnny Depps instead.
and 17-foot tall actresses. I don't remember her name. That was my least favorite part. I
don't know. That whole movie I try to forget.
I loved her in that role, but then they made her giant and it didn't make sense.
Julian, one point you brought up that I really enjoyed, and I love that organ scene, and I think that's
That's
a
like the
perfect
defining scene
encapsulation
of your argument.
of how you're able to relate to a character that is both frightening and intimidating, and what he's able to do on the smallest scale that make you see the humanity of this disfigured person. And Anthony, I really wanted you. I kept waiting for you to get to this point where you were going to talk about the scene with the duality. You talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But that 30 seconds, you crushed it. That's exactly where I wanted you to go with that film, with that performance. You're absolutely right. It is what he's able to do almost in that scene work alone, I think is unbelievable. And that was the film that really set the mocap world on fire. And it was the duality of Golem that became this huge pop culture thing. Anthony gets my first point. I think it's easy to go with Andy Serkis, but you nailed it, and there's a reason.
What's the name of the movie I said?
The Two Towers.
Two Towers.
Yeah. Pittsburgh.
You
That's
like
good.
you were Irish.
I can't. I'm from Louisiana, man.
Two towers, a lot of.
It's the Two Towers.
It's like the name of a pub in Dublin.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
We're gonna do the rest of the show this way.
Yeah.
It's the Hobbits and Company.
All right, then,
thoroughly
Anthony. Well, now
enjoyed
you've
the
gotten
Two
your first point in a bowl full of Lucky
Pretty
Charms.
good. The Two Towers at work. I love the Two
We're gonna be
Towers.
right back. Maybe. Who knows?
Japanese accents next.
I kind of feel like the now.